and welcome to the Black Business Alliance, the Journey to Success podcast. The Black Business Alliance has been in existence for more than 6 years, and we're an organization that is really a community for Black business owners. We provide support, empowerment, encouragement, and advocacy for Black-owned businesses. We're an organization that's a one-stop center for your education to help you grow your business. But the most important thing that I believe that we do is help us come together, network, connect, and grow together so we support each other in business. My name is Anne Marie Knight, and I'm the Executive Director of the organization. Our office is in Milford, Connecticut. We have a new sub-office in New London, Connecticut, and we're pleased to have you with us.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Journey to Success, the podcast of the Black Business Alliance. I am thrilled to be here today with James Nicholas, the one and only, the true legend of the Black Business Alliance. And he's laughing. This is how we are at work, folks. You'd have to see us together to know. But getting to spend some time with Jim today to really pull from his experience is a true honor for me. And I want us to focus this session, if you don't mind, Jim, on thinking about guidance for emerging entrepreneurs, reflections and the future outlook. So I'm going to be just pulling and giving you some questions. I'm going to keep you tightly focused today so we can get some real tips and things that entrepreneurs can take from this and really use it to grow as they're beginning to grow or develop their businesses. So what are some of the biggest shifts you've seen in entrepreneurship over the past few decades? Maybe one or two.
Well, number one is the introduction of technology. The fact that a lot of things that traditionally used to be done by hand, now it's being done, if you will, electronically. And now we also see AI coming into the picture, which brings in another whole level, if you will, of understanding. The fact is that there are not significant changes in how it should be working. A person that, if you will, is a pre-startup or startup still has to have the basic skills. The skill set is important, and you have to check up all of the boxes. And that's where, of course, BBA has been really great about helping if its clients and its members, helping them along the way, because you can't hopscotch, or I guess that's the right term, over something that's needed, because you're going to have to come back and grab it.
Some of the learning that you're talking about.
So the learning
right?
is so important. The education is important as far as, and the commitment. I think the most important thing now is commitment. I think the commitment that we have today is the same as before. It just shows up in different ways.
I think it's interesting what you said about technology, because if we're talking about some younger folks today in their early 20s and maybe even towards their 30s, they've pretty much grown up with technology, right? We're the ones who have not. So the technology is not new to them. This new AI component is newer for some, but they've grown up with technology and they see things very differently. So I think that is one of the biggest shifts. So what challenges do you think new entrepreneurs face today that you didn't?
The challenges that they're facing is that there are more people who are going the entrepreneurial route. So the strength of the competition now is greater, and those who understand technology are further ahead than those before. The biggest problem that we have with far as this challenge is try to have people narrow down what is the market scope, what is the market opportunity. Don't tell me that the market is 1 million units when it's 10,000. It's maybe 1 million globally, but you're not in the global market at the moment. You're only in southeastern Connecticut. Southeastern Connecticut has 2,000 of the 10,000, so you got a 20% market share of a share that's 10% of the larger piece. So I think that's the important thing: understanding marketing and helping people understand that marketing it's all inclusive. It's not just social media. I think too many people now are working on social media when the important thing is to have the people to people relationships. You can have all the Zoom meetings you want. It's only that you meet a person face to face that you get the vibe, you get their energy, or they get your energy,
Right.
and you can see whether this is something that works. Other than that, I mean, you can't do this from a long distance, if you will. And again, as I did my global work, I knew that I could not be in a global marketplace while I'm sitting here in Connecticut.
I think that's one of the challenges, but also one of the opportunities, and particularly since, as we were just saying, that some folks have literally grown up with technology. There's a lot of business that's done online, so you're not having the face-to-face relationships that you value so much, and that some of us value so much in the same type of way. So how do we address that challenge?
We have to address the challenge by telling people that they can't work from the office. You have to go out. You have to be where the people are that you're trying to connect with, the people with whom you're trying to sell. And you also want to have a location near the market that you're trying to sell to. So I understand the question that you're raising, but I was just with a group of young kids, 6 to 9 years old. They knew all about robots. They knew all about how to with drones. They knew all of the latest technology. These are people in the 6th grade running rings around my knowledge, if you will. But that does not mean that they're mature enough to be able to do a business.
Right.
They understand what are the key pieces that they need to talk about, and understand that technology, a bot, is nothing but a piece of metal. It doesn't breathe. And so you need to be with someone that you can understand and you can get the feel from them, the vibes from them, as to whether this makes sense or not. And secondly, there are people, through your interaction, you will find something different than what you originally wanted to go, because you're there now and you're having an open conversation. So I think the most important thing is the communication, and text messages and emails is not the best way. You and I both know that we've been able to get things done because we were able to talk to people.
I think there's also that very positive side of technology as well, and particularly for somebody who has an online business, what I hear you saying is don't leave behind the value of having personal relationships. And even as you're trying to understand your customer and your target market, that being close to that target market is crucial for how you grow your business. Being the access to the internet, the research that we're able to do, the market reach that we're able to have has really helped many businesses grow exponentially because of that capacity. So even the way that we're finding information about people, we can now do online with the research through social media. We're tapped into groups in a different way. So we're learning about each other in very different ways than we were years ago. There's value in that. And I hear you saying that we also don't forget that you need to also pull your head out of the sand, get involved, be involved in some groups, do your connections, build relationships, because those are also important.
Well, again, let me go back to address that question that you just asked, is that there are positives, but that you've expounded on the positive. Let's look at the negatives. The information that you're necessarily getting is not the information that you need. And a lot of it is misinformation, where someone is taking something they have, if you will, like a piece of putty.
Right.
They've moved it around, but it's not apropos for what you're trying to do. It sounds good. And again, a lot of people have now recognizing that technology is something that they may be able to take advantage of others by using the technology.
Yes.
And that's the negative, because I don't think we can put all of the quote unquote security software on our stuff, and then all of a sudden you get a letter from one of the biggest corporations saying, hey,
Your data is leaked.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's the concern that I have, that there's too much reliance on the technology. It's the fact that we were taught 1 and 1 is 2. Now, if you go back and talk to some people now, they can't had one-on-one is two, because they've depended so much on technology.
Right, absolutely. No, I hear you. So what do you believe, and I think you kind of touched on this a little earlier, what do you believe hasn't changed and won't change in business? And I think you're going to press into a little bit of the foundational piece.
Your skills. The skills required do not change. Now, there may be some additive to the skills or level of expansion of the skill, but it's still that skill. You still have to be able to communicate. You still have to be able to understand the relationships that are all around you. You have to be able to find out markets. There is a skill to finding a market
Absolutely.
and targeting it. And the skill of listening. That has not, if you're too busy on the computer or text messages, you're not listening to what is being said.
Yes.
You're hearing, but you're not listening. So I think that's not going to change. And the fact that I think what it's only makes the advent, if you will, of text messaging, email, and Zoom is going to make it worse.
Interesting. All right, so here's a challenging one for you. Well, maybe not. What are some mistakes that you've made that others can learn from?
Okay. The mistakes I've made is understanding the different cultures and what works in one culture does not necessarily work in another
Yes,
culture. That's
yes.
first and foremost. The fact that assuming that you know something or know completely something when you only know partially something, which can get you in trouble, if you will. The fact that sometimes you're not aware of how you're being perceived by others. So I think it's important to recognize that, not that I'm necessarily looking down on someone, but I'm thinking I'm looking at them level, but we're not looking at each other from the same place, from the same space.
Okay.
It's not that it's intended to be harmful, but not understand, i.e., the problem that I had, like in Japan, when I sent the person home. Maybe I could have waited another day
Okay.
instead of turning, and then I would have not have made the faux pas that I made.
I hear you.
But I was so wrapped up in what I was doing and who I am and how I was being perceived that I made, from a management standpoint, I may not have shown the leadership that I need. From the standpoint of being a leader is still there. I mean, even in Iran, when I was doing business there, when I could see that Iran was about to fall with us, I was able to get my people out of Iran, and they adhered to what I said because they trusted me. So that, from a leadership standpoint, was very important.
So I hear you saying that self-awareness is a critical component of leadership, and that it can cause judgments in errors in judgment if we're not really aware, but also being aware of how others perceive us is important as well.
Absolutely, and as I've gotten older, I'm more aware of, and even, believe it or not, even within the last year, there are things that have happened there that I've been able to say, hey, check yourself, if you will, without you being aware of how you were impacting others by your behavior, even though it might have been correct.
Right.
But at the same time, it would bring you something negative that impacts you negatively as well as the organization.
Right, absolutely. And so, I mean, sometimes it's even the small things.
Small
right?
things, yes.
We might think we're being funny in a situation, or there's some type code language when we've been working together for a while or something, but it doesn't come across the same way if you do it in a larger group. So that's that self-awareness piece that I'm pushing into. We've had many conversations about this, but help us understand the value, the true value of relationships and relationship building in business.
Oh, yes. The relationships, the Chinese is guanxi, which is relationship. Those are the things that open doors for you. My lawyer's friend who helped Kevin get into Washington Lee Law School, Henry, who helped me in Kito-san in Japan, and I could go on and on. My first trip to China in 1977. All of these were new barriers, but the relationships. But there are two types of relationships you have: the human relationships and the relationships that you bring forward through your academic, your personal endeavors.
Okay.
These are relationships, if you will, when you put them on the table, they're the ones that add up to make the personal relationship work. So I mean, it's important to recognize what is your history.
Right.
Your history is critical. So as you're starting out, and also from the standpoint of helping out from an entrepreneur, it's okay to fail. You don't necessarily, no one's going to run out the gate and bat 1,000. Nobody bats 1,000. In baseball, if you get 3 hits out of 10 hits, you're batting 300, and that means 7 times you didn't do well.
Wow.
The key is when you get the 3 hits.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know when we've talked about relationships in the past, you've really spent time talking about how to develop and build trust. And I want you to just say a little bit about trust, but also the reciprocal nature of relationships. Because I feel like what I've seen sometimes in entrepreneurs is it's what can I get from this relationship? What can I get type attitude. And there isn't that holistic reciprocal type of feel. Can you help us understand a little bit
I
more?
think the last piece you talked about, the holistic part, it's more prevalent now than what it used to be. Before, it used to be people were only what they're doing for themselves, and they didn't have the trust because they didn't want any. They did not want to open their door, if you will, to let other people in. So I think that's very, 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 very important and very critical. I think from the standpoint of working with and through others gives you the, if you will, the fulcrum, gives you the platform to be able to move forward because you do not have all knowledge.
Yes.
There's no computer that has all knowledge because it's sort of like what we used to say in the military, or when I was at NASA, is JACO, garbage in, garbage out. So it's what the human, you may have the best computer in the world. It's the input. Those who are working with AI, even today, AI doesn't work for everyone because they don't understand how to present themselves, the if you will, the quotes, the code, or the direction that you want to go in. The thing that AI does, of course, it begins to learn you.
Right.
And that's the fear that some people have.
Absolutely. So one of the things that is a foundation for the Black Business Alliance is this idea of trust. And building trust. And so everything that we do is built around that as a core value. What are some of the core values that you live by and that have impacted you in business?
The things that we were taught when we grew up. You don't lie, you don't steal, and you don't be blasphemous. Your religion is important. So you have to relate and honor your mother and your father.
Yeah.
Those are the things, those are my core values. Sometimes they're not always reflected the way or shown, but then you have the opportunity to come back to see where you are and how do you clean up your mess. And that's harder and more consuming than if you had done it the right way.
I love that though, because it's really understanding that yes, we will make mistakes, but we can learn from them and we can come back and readdress some things that we may have had in error. But I heard you talk about really integrity, in honor, and in business. Those are key aspects of business. And I think that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we're not always keeping in the forefront. You know, I've seen some things, you've seen some things where it's been easy for people to lie. Social media makes it easy for people to put on a face about what their marketing is or what their product is, and it's not really true. Talk to us about integrity in business.
Yeah, right. That's very, very important. Even as we elevate that to where we are today, as from a political and economic standpoint, there is a lack of integrity. We have people who are telling others who may not be as knowledgeable as they are things which are wrong. And people accept it because of the person that's given the message. So it's the message sender is the problem. It's not necessarily the message.
Right.
Because you can take a message that is correct, and if the wrong message sender interjects himself or herself into the message itself, then the message comes out wrong.
Yes.
So integrity is important both from a familiar standpoint as well as because a lot of people have problems from the familiar standpoint as an entrepreneur because of the relationships that they have to develop outside of their personal relationship, and the fact that they may act in a certain way outside of the business, which will impact inside of the home.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's what I see that, or the fact that the difficulty, you have to, the strength that you have to have as a family unit. So if a husband and wife is going to work together, is it really going to be a 50-50 relationship? Or is one trying to command and make the other one, if you will, the lesser participant, which causes a problem?
Yes. Yeah, that's a whole nother subject we probably should think about when we think about relationships. So I know that you've seen businesses across the years in all shapes and all sizes. What would you say, particularly to Black entrepreneurs, what would be your advice for building longevity in business?
Number one, you have to have a business plan. Your business plan starts at zero, and basically, I've been always taught the 5-year business plan. Being from a corporate standpoint,
Right.
we would do a 5-year because there are things that's going to happen at the end of that plan that you have to account for. You also have to have a backup. We can't just say this is plan A. We have to have a plan B and maybe even a plan C. There are a lot of people now who have to go back and relook at their plan because the whole environment, the whole economic and political environment has changed. How do you work within that particular framework? So I think, again, that's important. That's key. The other things that I would tell them is meet people. And number two, if you are a person who's just trying to get your own product, don't think that that's your baby. If you don't let that product be exposed to others, then you're not going to grow. You're going to only be able to go as far as your capacity is, and you've lost opportunities by not working with an Amber, not working with Marge, not working with someone like myself who can help to expand you. You're never going to get beyond being a startup if you can't go to a growth mode. You can only go to a growth mode when you've had the opportunity, if you will, to bring on, to learn new things, and be able to invest and not say, I have to hold on to my, if it requires you to sell that business, then rather than make that business an orphan.
Right. No, I mean, I think that goes back to the trust, right? The foundational level is trust issue.
Trust.
And that's when we don't trust each other enough, or maybe I've been hurt, maybe I've shared an idea and somebody stole my idea, or, there could be any number of reasons that we're not really trusting, so we're keeping it close. And what you're saying is that actually hinders the growth rather than helping you grow your business.
Absolutely.
And so it's important to find, though, trusted counselors, trusted people that you can share with, because it's not everybody that you should share your dream with. It's not everybody who has the skill level to help you grow your business. That's another component. And then there are also advisors who don't have the cultural background to be able to understand and bring that to the table as well. But the bottom line is you need to find somebody with the skill level to be able to help you get to that next level.
And relationships.
Yes.
And the relationships.
Yep.
Because as we begin to take a look at the need for capital, you have to, again, back to trust.
Right.
That document you write is the first trust. When they look at that business plan, this is the first time that a funder is going to say, gee, I trust because I like the fact that this person has completely scoped out the opportunity. They've been able to say how is it going to be organized, how it's going to be implemented, and then here is a management team. See, recognizing that once you are an entrepreneur, where you become single, yes, you can still be an entrepreneur with multiple employees,
Right.
but it's only as you get the people that can handle and have the skills of each of the areas that you were trying to do yourself,
Right.
will you grow. So I think that's one of the real key things that I think we've addressed.
And I think it's a key element on a number of different levels as well, because growing your team, I think people think about, I need to bring on all of these different staff members. But in this day and age, You can use virtual services. So you can have an AI, a virtual assistant who might be your first employee, so to speak, but they're the person who can help take some of that administrative burden off of you so that you can really focus on how you grow moving forward. An attorney, legal counsel, those are things that you bring on as part of your team. They're not that you're paying them every week, out of your profits, but they're a part of your team. So it is about expansion, but it's also about thinking differently in how you have your operating team.
And more importantly, have a succession plan.
Oh, good. Okay.
Got to have a succession plan.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have spent 30 years of your life building a business. Then what do you do now?
Well, I think, as we're really focusing on emerging entrepreneurs, as they're just kind of like thinking about getting going, it is also important to have in your idea, in your mind, how do you move that thing forward? If anything happened to you, or after you've grown the business, what is that succession plan? What's your legacy plan? I think that's more what I'm asking, right? What is your legacy plan, and how does this build generational wealth for your family moving forward? And to have some of that thinking done very, very early in the business. You don't wait till you're 5 years in, 10 years in. Those are the things that we're helping you to start to think through early in the business, because it helps to inform how you grow your business.
That's very, very important, because also recognize that at the rapid growth that we have in the business, a product that you have now that maybe it's out in 1 or 2 years may be outdated. And then all of a sudden you're sitting here, all the money that's been expended,
Right.
you're not nimble enough to
Right.
see it coming so that you can make changes to your product or to the direction that you want to go. So that's when I talk about succession. It's not only from a human standpoint, it's from an understanding standpoint.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you said that, because, we've had such a teacher in COVID, 5 years ago, that many, many businesses had to close their doors, and we were not nimble necessarily to be able to adapt and change as the market changed. But at the same time, there were many, many multimillionaires that were built during COVID. Why? Because they were able to adapt and change and grow and see opportunity and take advantage of opportunity when it's there. So that's a key aspect for every entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's the foresight.
That's the foresight, right? Absolutely. So how can young entrepreneurs or emerging entrepreneurs, as they're building their business, but if they start to think about or prepare to scale beyond the local market, what advice would you give them?
Okay. Number one, do not expand beyond your capacity. You want to be able to be in control of your business. If you're trying to, all of a sudden, if we're here in the East Coast, you're going to say, I'm going to expand to the West Coast. Or if I'm doing business here, I need to get another bricks and mortar business there in another location. Without recognizing, you're incurring all the extra costs and expenses,
Yes.
and you may not even be able to get the clients that you think, because you're too far away.
Yep. Wow. That's good. So I'm going to leave with this one. What does legacy mean to you? And what do you hope to leave behind?
That's a good comment. When we were growing up, we had tribes. Each tribe had a historian. That historian is the one who basically had all the knowledge, and he's the one who laid the foundation for the legacy. So the legacy comes in the form of history. It comes in form of, if you will, of wealth, or just comes in the form of how did you train and educate your kids.
Wow.
That so that they can achieve the level. The legacy does not necessarily have to come from you. It can come through something that you did for someone.
Yes. Wow.
With your children. So we have a tendency to be very, if we're looking at it from that standpoint, and I like to look at, you have to pull down, because so the legacy goes up as well as down. And the fact that you are able to provide the opportunity to work in a community, and a community could be a whole, could be something that's geographical as well as something from a people standpoint.
Absolutely.
You can create a legacy through getting a group of people to come together, and then that becomes your legacy. I mean, it's not strictly individual.
Absolutely. No, I agree. But from your perspective, and I'm sitting on the outside looking at your legacy and thinking about your legacy is so broad and on so many levels. I wish we could count the number of entrepreneurs and businesses that you have touched over the years and inspired to grow their business, or given them education or support or encouragement or strategy to help them grow their business. That's one piece of legacy, those businesses that continue. Another piece is you've been a professor at the university where you've been inspiring students to think about international business and how they handle themselves as leaders in international business. That's another form of your legacy. So, and I could go on and on, but we were honored to be able to create the James C. Nicholas Scholarship Fund. And that's about legacy for me. It's
Correct.
important to me that we have that legacy built. Talk to me about what that means to you.
Well, number one, it's a sense of pride. I've never looked at myself as someone who's going to stand in front of a picture, and I've had enough people who've done that over time. But the book that I'm writing is a legacy
Yes, yes.
thing, because I'm trying to put together a journey, my journey, so that others can take a look at it and say, hopefully it will inspire them, encourage them, and say these are things that can be accomplished.
Yes.
And recognizing it's a lot easier today to do what I did than when I did it 20 years ago.
Right.
Being able to put my grandchildren and children in a position so that Kevin can do,
Yes.
had the freedom and the ability to do the things he can from a legal standpoint. From Candace, who's out there saying, Granddad, I know it's tough. I know I hear what you're telling me, but I'm going to keep trying. And now she's been able to connect herself with some of the right people. It's still the ability to say, here are the things I'm going to give you, the important ingredients that you need to have to make you bloom, to make you flourish.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's legacy,
That's
because we're
absolutely.
planning down.
Right.
And again, most people look at legacy strictly from a financial standpoint,
Right.
and I don't necessarily. I know it's nice to be able to
Right.
pass along, because the things that we don't have that the others have had is that they've been able to get the financial piece when they start off.
Absolutely.
We have to grow our
Right.
grow to a point.
So to that point, though, the James C. Nicholas Scholarship Fund is about creating opportunity for others. So
Correct.
bring us home with that, please.
Okay, as far as that is concerned, what that is to be able to do is to inspire. It's really to inspire those who are interested in being in the international arena, to inspire those who's willing to say, these are skills that I have to learn, things that I have to learn, recognizing that it's not necessarily in the book. Being able to say, hey, here's some funds that can help you to get books, technical assistance, whatever you need so that you can take the next level. Or to take like the little kids that I saw even in the 9th grade, and we talked about things, says, this is something that, I said, there are things that will come out of funds and scholarships and stuff like. I like to be able to get this funded well enough
Yes.
so that we're able to, and I've been saying that it's something, and been working with people outside of Connecticut, because at some point in time, there's a lot of open territory that we, even within our other organizations, that we have not touched yet.
Oh, wonderful. So I'm excited to see how it grows. I'm excited to see the impact that the Scholarship Fund will have, and it will continue on as a legacy for you, Jim. So thank you again for joining us today. We will continue to have more dialogues. I'm looking forward to the next podcast episode that we do today. But I wanted to thank you very much for your time, for your energy, for sharing your knowledge with us today. And for those of you who've been listening in, thank you as well. You have a fabulous day.